Hello and welcome. It's that time of the week where we do Reads of the Week, which is that time of the week where we talk about books that I've read this week. And I've read a lot of stuff. Now, not all this is new. Some of the stuff I've had on my desk for months. Uh, some of it came out just like last week, some of it came out the week before. So, there's a variety. There's an absolute variety of stuff here. And I got a whole ton of books to get through. There's a lot of books here. Like, look, just the awesome stack is gigantic. Uh, and I'm not sure how I'm going to rate some of this stuff. Like, I thought about it. I thought about it. And what's it going to be? But we can at least start with the stuff that doesn't make it across the threshold of awesome. And I'm going to be charitable to one book, and we'll talk about it last. Probably the absolute worst thing I read was this Garfield Homecoming comic. This was $3.99 last year. It doesn't even look like Garfield. Like, when you think Garfield, there are expectations for what Garfield should look like. This book doesn't meet any of them. This is just complete trash. It says by Jim Davis. I'm really doubting that. Who did the art? 'Cause this is not Jim Davis art. See, Garfield created by Jim Davis, illustrated by two other people. Now, this first person here at the very beginning, that looks like Garfield. That's how Garfield should look. In fact, it's a little bit better than the newspaper strip because the coloring is great. And that person also, I think they wrote like they drew the last page of the book. No, well, they drew some other page of the book. Oh, there it is. So how can you have two very clashing styles right next to each other? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. This is just, it's bad. The art was so distracting, I don't even remember the rest of the book. So we just put that there. Worst thing ever. This one's uncharitable. This one is completely uncharitable. I sat down and I reread this, trying to decide if I liked it. I didn't like it at all. It just this might be the first time I put like an X-Men book written by Chris Claremont like in the suck pile, but it's down there. I don't know what I said about it when I was doing my comic book review for the other X-Men book, but I didn't care for this at all. And it got worse on the second read. This was kind of interesting. It broaches the same subject matter as the Ferryman books, which I think Ferryman 2 is like 6 months late or something. I should probably check in on that campaign. And the art's nice enough. Like, I like the line art. The problem is the story jumps back and forth between like three different time periods. It's a complete mess. And ultimately, I don't think anything actually happens in the book. We learn that Pope Man doesn't like people uploading their minds or whatever, and somebody dies at the first page, and we see them like go to the afterlife in the second page, and that's it, or on the last page, and that's like the entire book. Digital Forever didn't do anything for me. Now this came with another book, Multi Larceny. It's written by the same guy. Um, right there, there's a signature, which is pretty cool. But I didn't care for this. It didn't seem to go anywhere, and maybe it's one of those stories that's really meant to be read in a trade, in which case you should just publish it as a trade. The other book here in the not okay stack in the bottom of the pile is this one. And this is the one I'm going to be charitable to. That's why I put this at the top of the list. Which isn't to say I liked it, but this book kind of represents somebody's dream. Like, I don't know anything about this publisher here, Gemini Comics. I don't know anything about this book, really. And I was all set to like tear into this because the art's not that appealing. The storytelling is a disjointed mess. It's only 16 pages long, and ultimately I can't tell like does Sergey the Spider actually control spiders? It's not clear. It's not really clear what's going on other than this dude is like a crime lord. And then I got to the back here and I read some of this stuff and I saw over here. This is somebody's dream. This is somebody's dream. They're trying to make a cool comic. Let's see cgeminicomicbooks.com for details. Let's go to their website. Let's go to their website. Like, I don't want to be mean to these dudes. There's no reason to be mean. And if I can come up with like a good way to give them some constructive feedback, GeminiComics.com. Is that it? Let me check that again. GeminiComicBooks.com. My bad. My bad. GeminiComicBooks.com. Let's see if that comes up on DuckDuckGo. This account has been suspended. That actually kind of hurts. That actually kind of hurts because that means you're supposed to show my monitor. That hurts because that means that this dude's dream just didn't work out for him. That's a shame. I'm gonna flip back to the webcam for a second. I'm gonna go to archive.org and see what I can see. I really hate seeing people's dreams get squashed, you know? So I guess there's no point in me doing like a full review of this thing because there's no one to give it to. There's just no one to give it to. There's archive.org. Yeah, they do have an archive. Okay, let's look. April 25th, 2019. Yeah, let's look at your snapshot from 7 a.m. Oh, yeah, this kind of hurts, and I suddenly feel bad for including this in the pile of suck. Like, this absolutely was like somebody's dream, and they never got to pursue it. That's rough. Maybe I will do a review of this just to get the feedback out there on the off chance that one of the creators sees it or something like that. You know? Oh, I feel kind of bad. I feel kind of bad all of a sudden. That really kind of put a pall over these proceedings. Because it's one thing to be like, this sucked when it's a big time creator, somebody who's supposed to be good. But when you're just like looking at somebody's first comic book and they're trying hard and they're doing their best and it's their dream, it's really hard just to be like, yo, I'm gonna crush all your hopes and dreams. And that's basically what I just about did there. So, all right. Well, let's look at the stuff that's in the okay category. Let's try to get this going again. There's some stuff here. I'm gonna just kind of slip out from this. This is sorry, sorry. I was looking at my books and not at where my hands was going as I was sorting through stuff. But yeah, we got some stuff that's just okay here, and it's this humor kind of stuff. Uh, oh, the art in this one. Hold on. Let's look at this Garfield book. This Garfield book actually looks kind of like Garfield. The style's maybe a little looser and exaggerated, but it actually looks like a Garfield comic. The character looks like Garfield. And just for that, even if this was like the worst book, the difference between this and the other one is so stark that this one is getting into the okay category just on the basis of that art. The Ducktail comic didn't do a whole lot for me. This has been a well loved book. Like somebody read this till it was falling apart. I'm probably going to give this and uh, to somebody, for to give to their little kid or something. You can see the art's like fun and colorful. Like there's nothing wrong with this book. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I wouldn't have been ashamed of like bought this and given it to. Well, I guess my nephew's a bit old for that, but if he was younger, it totally would have been legit. This is the Archie Madhouse Halloween Comic Fest book from last year. Um, I accidentally got a second one, whatever. And these two Archie books, they're just okay fun. They were free comics. This whole Team Archie, Team whatever thing going on, and it was kind of funny. And I definitely got a laugh out of both of these. Like there were some real sensible chuckles going on here. And you can see where these books came from. The Westfield Comics on Mineral Point. That's one of my stores I go to every once in a while. Now we're also going to take some more books out of the regular rotation. The Authority. One of these has absolutely abysmal art. I think it's this one. You know what? I should have put that in the pile of suck. That sucked. The other two have okay art, or okay to pretty good art. The writing's okay. It's Grant Morrison. I think if you're reading Grant Morrison, you know what you're getting into. You absolutely know what you're getting into. So we're just gonna kind of exempt The Authority. It's okay. It's not really my jam. These guys are all jerks. None of them have any redeeming qualities. Just every once in a while, you get something nice like that page I put on or that panel I put on Instagram where Jack Hawksmoor and her were like smooching it up. Like that was okay, but the fact that Jack Hawksmoor is basically going to psychically dominate the planet, which of course is the purpose of the book. The purpose of the book is to make you hate heroes, because that's how Grant Morrison is, you know. All right, which really just kind of leaves us with three books to rate. And I already know where I'm going to put this. The first one here, the bottom of these three, is Multi Larceny. Go check out my review for this if you want like all the deets. But this book has some problems with not being the book that I thought it was advertised to be. I thought it was supposed to be like some kind of heist story. It's not. There's a little heist in it, and then it turns into like a murder mystery chase sequence through alternate worlds, which is kind of cool. Not dissing that, but it's not what I was expecting, and that kind of made me not enjoy it as much as I should have. Plus, the art's not always that great inside of it, but when it is good, it's very atmospheric and looks pretty good. Speaking of art that's not always good, Black and Blue. This was a Kickstarter book. Well, this is also a Kickstarter book. This was a Kickstarter book. A lot of times, it just straight up looks like somebody's webcomic. There's nothing really wrong with that, but when you're paying like pro prices for something, you should get something that's better than a webcomic. But there is this lady right here. Looks like she belongs in a nice cartoon from the 80s. Like she looks like she could flow. There's emotion, a grace about her. It's absolutely fantastic. And then the alien side, because it's a flip book, so you got human story, whoosh, alien story. And the alien story is pretty interesting because the aliens are very different from humans. They have their own society. And over here, I found that I could forgive the art a lot more because they're not human. I have no expectations of what the alien world should look like. It's an interesting story. Would I back a book by these dudes again? I don't know, but this was an interesting story. And finally, at the top of OK, this book, which is really mislabeled. This should really be like Wolverine goes berserk because Wolverine kills the crap out of that dude. He just absolutely wrecks him. And just because Moira McTaggart shows up and mouths off in this, and it's her first appearance, that's what they put on the cover. But it's really like, watch Wolverine berserk. Which all good X-Men stories should probably involve Wolverine going berserk at some point. Holy crap, now we're down to like the awesome, and there's so much of it this week. There is so much of it this week. Some of it's old, some of it's new. And I gotta admit, I'm not really sure where to put everything. I guess we'll put Nothing Man like at the bottom of the awesome pile. I'm not going to do a review of this. I can't even really open this book without risking a content strike or something. Because John Rhodes has this habit of drawing people in particular ways, and you can sometimes see things through their clothing. So I don't want to have to like pick and choose. But it's a cool story. This guy finally remembers who he is. Goes like crazy because of that. There's chaos, destruction. Uh, Please be 18 or older to read the book. What else is next? I guess we'll do Wild Frontier. This one would rate higher. This was a Kickstarter book. It wasn't really all that late, I don't think. Maybe like a month or something. Like, I remember it showed up out of the blue and I was surprised because I didn't know it was shipping yet. So, either I just lost track or they got it to me pretty timely, unlike some Kickstarter campaigns. Oh, hey, John Rhodes totally packed in like some swag when I bought this off his website, which is dope. Anyway, this was a fun little cyberpunk detective story, but it's only the setup. If it was more than the setup, I would have rated it higher. I think Crossers Gate, which is another Kickstarter book, just has to be the next one I put up here. It's a great little horror manga type thing. Uh, I really love the atmosphere. The monsters in it are not creepy. They're like super ultra omega creepy. Like they've passed up mere creepitude. And the bit of action, it's very manga esque. It flows well. Once I got into it, man, it was hard to not just keep going. Wild Frontier had that same quality. It's manga esque. You start reading it, next thing you know, you've read the whole thing, and you're like, what happened? What happened? Great stuff. All this is great stuff so far. I think I gotta put down the Superman reprint. It's fantastic. It's very bold, absolutely very bold. Go check out my review, like if you want to see what I mean. In fact, check out my review for all this stuff that has reviews. Like, If you want to get like in depth into why I really like these things, that's the way to do it. But this was a great little story, very bold storytelling, wonderful broad strokes, great book. The funny thing is, they overprinted this so much you could probably go buy a Superman number 75 for like $1. You know, there's like 2 million of these things floating around out there. What's next? Oh, we're getting to some rarefied air, and it's getting kind of to where it's really hard for me to pick. So I think we're gonna have to make like number three for the week. At like number three out of the top five is actually three different books. So this is three, four, and five. They're all tied. I don't know how to order these. I really like this. This is a great ending for the Deceased miniseries. I didn't like one thing about it, but in conclusion, and thinking about it more and more and letting it grow on me and flipping through it again, I really liked it. I think it was fantastic. Maybe I'm putting it too high right now, but at this moment in time, I have some high regard for how this miniseries ended, even though I had some concerns about the middle of it. Then we got Savage Avengers Annual Number One. Great story. This really should just be called Conan in Brazil. That should just be the name of this book. You don't need this, you don't need this. And the only thing I didn't like about it was the inside front cover. I edited the text. It's so much better in my version because it's just like Conan finds himself in the world. Barbarians fear nothing. That's all you need to know. You don't need to be wordy. You definitely can use too many words. I'm guilty of that sometimes. And this is the surprise. This came out 2 weeks ago, I think. Absolute surprise. I really enjoyed this book. I'm blown away by how much I enjoyed that book. Uh, because I went into it expecting I'd hate it. That's why I didn't buy it. And turns out it was a pleasant surprise. And it pleasantly surprised me so much, it rates this high up on my reading list. It's, it's, it's great. It's absolutely great. Now you're like, okay, Elizibar, we saw a lot more books in your hand than that. Yeah, it's because one of the books is actually four separate books. Knights of the Golden Sun. I have issues 2, 4, 6, and 7. Let's let you look at those covers. That's Metatron, man. His creation's pretty interesting, and what he does is cool. You get big battles. This is just a lot of fun. This is probably the most Christian comic book I have uh, ever read. Maybe. Which reminds me, I need to tell Edwin Boyette that he should go look at this. And now somebody's going to be clicking that download button. Oh, you mentioned a forbidden name. Whatever. I don't play those games. That was number two. It's a great story. Number one is also a great story. With absolutely gorgeous art. Really, that's probably what it comes down to. I really love Knights of the Golden Sun, but I have quibbles with the art. There's only one panel in this whole book I have quibbles with. It's the very first one in the book because it looks like it was blown up from a sketch or something. It shouldn't be that big. Everything else about this is it's gorgeous. It's paced correctly. It's deep. You're getting inside of people's heads. You're seeing their inner workings. It's a fantastic book. And if you're not riding the Harleen train, you need to get on the Harleen train. All aboard, baby! Whoop whoop. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So that's everything I got this week. Like this is a ton of books. It's an absolute ton of books, and there was so much fantastic stuff piled up here. A lot of just okay stuff, and some bad stuff. Sometimes you get the good, sometimes you get the bad, sometimes you get the good with the bad. You never know. You never know. You all out there have a great day. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I sure hope to see you again next time. Until then, take care of yourselves and bye bye.